I suggested to the organizers, they asked me, what do you think we should do next time? Well, I said, get more room, because we were really crowded in that facility over there. But I think the outcome's going to be these $4.5 billion projects. I would like to see they're awarded. I assume they'll be awarded soon, or in the near future, very near future. They'll be awarded, and then next year we can have a presentation of all of these projects, and we can learn something as to what people are doing, number one. Number two, how are we progressing, and things of that nature. So I think the future is going to be more learning and finding out what each other's doing, networking, and seeing the successes and not so much success.
Well, before we take a quick break, and Maureen's got index cards for those of you who want to send up questions for a question and answer session, I thought I'd offer the panel a bit of a throwaway question, and it's this. When personal computers first emerged on the marketplace in the 70s and 80s, IBM was the behemoth at the time who everyone thought would dominate the personal computer market. There were about 5 years in the 1980s, for example, that I recall when people used the word PC, they were really referring to the IBM personal computer and no other product. At that time, Michael Dell was a student at the University of Texas in Austin, and he was putting together microcomputers in his dorm room. And of course, he founded Dell Computer, and there have been a whole host of other companies that have flourished since then. So my question, and maybe Luke can field this one first, is that if you look at the smart grid industry, it seems as though companies like GE and its competitors are to the smart grid industry what IBM was to the personal computer industry. My question is, who are the Dell computers out there right now? Who's in their dorm room now building the next great big company?
Hopefully no one. That's a very good analogy. One that we use a lot, and I think another one, I do think it's a very good analogy about are we the GE today, the IBM of the early 1980s. And you think about their decision, in addition, was when they were building the PC, they made a business decision about they were in such a hurry to get to market with their PC, they made the decision to source the operating system from Microsoft and the processing chip from Intel, and as it turned out, those were the two companies that made all the money, and likewise, they also ended up being commoditized by Dell. So we are aware of that, and I think, when I look out there, what I'm expecting, the entrepreneurs that are going to emerge, and this goes back to, I think, a prior question about we're going to see new business models. I also think of this as the energy internet, very much like when the internet first came up, basically became very visible to all of us in the mid-90s. We're going to see entrepreneurs, once we build this capability, I think that's when the entrepreneurs are really going to kick in, because it is going to be very difficult, challenging for us to think of all these applications. And so very much also, I think, like the iPhone and the iPhone with the App Store, I can see once we get to these interoperability standards and we have it's there, then it's just a limitation on entrepreneurs' minds to create applications that are going to take full advantage of this and create value for all of us. It's very difficult to comprehend what those applications will be. Who's going to be the eBay, the Amazon applications that are going to be emerging here?
I think an important point we need to note is that the landscape of the grid today is very different from the IT landscape back in the advent of the PC. I certainly think GE is in fact positioned as the potential IBM of the smart grid, but I don't think there's a product at this point that's the equivalent to the IBM PC, and the reason is we're not dealing with a greenfield. When the IBM PC came on the market, what did it really disclose? At most a dumb terminal, but more typically a pen and paper. It was literally a greenfield market opportunity. We're not starting without a grid. There's a legacy environment we need to recognize and be compatible with. So I don't think there is a Michael Dell on the landscape. I think the IBM PC hasn't even yet been invented. When it is, I'm hoping to count it among the PowerTagging licensees.
I would add that to confuse the almost exclusively monopoly market that is driven, that governs the smart grid, and a highly competitive market that was the IBM PC and related high-tech markets is probably not a parallel that you would want to necessarily draw. This market, being an entrepreneur, being a guy who might like to be Michael Dell at one point, this market is almost singularly built to destroy entrepreneurs.
And how are you going to counteract that?
A lot of money from big friends. Really, it's the only way that at least if you look at a lot of the parallels of other entrepreneurial companies that have made their ways into this market, they have to be well capitalized, and that's about 1% of the entrepreneurs that are out there.
Can venture capital do it?
There is no such thing as the college kid that can start a business and be successful in a monopoly-driven, regulated environment.
Are you saying you need strategic partners?
Yeah.
I think within the NIST activity and in general, we're seeing people suggesting the networks, the communications infrastructure, IT industry, open protocols. I think the future is in the software development, networks, and communications area. I think there's a lot of bright kids out there. We see a lot of them at NREL that come who want to work at NREL. Secretary Chu announces a $100 million workforce opportunities, funding source that's been, I think, was released last week. $100 million, that means workforce training, education. I know setting up education. In Colorado, we have the Collaboratory, which is NREL with the 3 universities, CSM, CSU, and CU. So, I think that's where the ideas are going to come from, but I agree, it's not like it used to be. We have Edison in the back room making things happen. I think it's going to be a big investment on the part of the venture capitalists or others, big companies. But I think software development in the network area is going to be a virgin area for development. And I see a lot of smart people out there that are good at computers.
Granted, I agree that displacing it in the larger companies that have been the giants in this industry would be impossible. But I also see a lot of niches, and even some very large niches, that are huge opportunities in this whole field. As an example, I haven't seen a lot of companies come forward that will eventually be the aggregators for technologies like ours, where with the vehicles being able to supply energy back to the grid, companies like the major utilities, Xcel, aren't really interested in keeping track of where every single vehicle is at this point, and where the loads are and where the supply is, and filling in that piece between Xcel, as an example, and the individual vehicle owners is, John's company has some ideas along those lines, but just in the overall scheme of things worldwide, who's going to be in between those? And then down on the smaller side, you've got the apps that will be on the cell phone, that will be invented by the individual entrepreneur on just doing your whole transportation needs, filling your whole transportation needs from the touch of your iPhone or similar device.
Great, thanks. Well, Marina's handing out some cards, and we can just take a few minutes to go through.